Hello. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Friday stream. I am your hostess, Lisa. As Existential says, the Slacker Friday stream. Let's go. Hi, everyone. If you're new here, I'm Lisa, and we are going to be reading about a fashion today. My favorite fashion. We're actually going to be reading an article by Vanessa Friedman, who's a very good writer, although not my favorite topic. She does write about fashion for the New York Times, but she's a great writer. So I'm excited to read this article. I think it's going to be pretty well researched. I've skimmed it about how women's athletic wear is evolving and has evolved, and some of it's due to feminism, women pushing back, feeling that clothing they're being required to wear is objectifying and dehumanizing. So yeah, I'm excited. Hello. Hey, Radical. Oh, Radical's going to be in the chat today. That's exciting. If you didn't see, she and I did a stream that I thought was really fun on her channel the other night. Hopefully we'll stream again soon, but it was a little slumber party, Rad Femmes After Dark. We talked about some spicy topics. I have a little spicy second topic for today. Hello, Existential, Julie, Blorbo, Enlightened Female. Enlightened Female, are you somebody else and you changed your username? Because I feel like you seem familiar. Hannah, Marie, hola. Shall we get into it? If you are new here, the way this works is I read the article. Feel free to comment. We will stop. We will discuss as we go. I will obviously be giving my 2 cents on this topic too. Blorbo says, this topic is so interesting. I feel like women's fashion in sports has gotten more practical while women's gym wear is looking more and more like freaking lingerie. Very true. I've been collecting screenshots of what I consider YouTube fitness, and so much of it is very sexualized, right? YouTube fitness, very sexualized in a very, very specific way. Like there's definitely an aesthetic for YouTube fitness. So, Existential says she thinks it's the opposite. Sportswear has gotten more like lingerie, and gym wear has gotten more conservative, I guess. Ballistic says, I just started going to the gym a few weeks ago, and it's so hard to find exercise clothes that I feel good in that aren't expensive AF. I agree. And if you try to find anything that's made without the use of slave labor, good luck. I don't know what we as consumers can do to have clear consciences in buying any kind of clothing. So little of it is made in slave factories. Awful. I really just try to buy as little as possible. Existential says, to be clear, the opposite in real life, like what I've seen at the gym. Online, it's very sexualized. Yeah. Right. It's very specific. I don't know that you really see that online is not exactly a representation of real life, right? So let's get into the article. So the original title of this article, as the New York Times sometimes does, they switch out the titles for one they think will get more clicks. But the original title was A Trend Sweeping Women's Sports, No More White Shorts, which I think is a very interesting title. Enlightened Female says, if y'all have any good thrift stores around, I would recommend them. The best, most practical gym wear I've found has been secondhand. Not everybody wants to wear clothes somebody else wore, but I agree. Or if you have, female friends, I've actually gotten tights and stuff from friends of mine who like they didn't fit anymore or whatever. Ballistic says, I hate tight clothes with no pockets. Not a fan of bright colored clothing either. I happen to really like bright clothing. The neutral earth tones, that kind of stuff that's popular is I like neon, I like the like 90s aesthetic. I guess that's what I grew up with. Okay. From the Women's World Cup to Wimbledon, a victory everyone can share. Across sports, female athletes are fighting a battle over what they put on their bodies and how much of those bodies they display. Even before we get into the article, I've been thinking about this. I think I mentioned this to Radical too. How they call it the Women's World Cup. Just think about it for a second. Think about it before I say my piece here. The Women's World Cup. The Women's World Cup. The Women's World Cup and the Men's World Cup don't happen in the same year. So can they not just call it the World Cup? It's that idea of the women always being a secondary kind of appendage, and the men, they don't call it the Men's World Cup either. They just call it the World Cup. The Men's World Cup is the World Cup. The Women's World Cup is the Women's World Cup. Why isn't the Women's World Cup the World Cup and the Men's World Cup the Men's World Cup? You know what I mean? Am I being too pedantic? I don't think so. We say firefighter. We say postal worker. We don't say fireman anymore, and we don't say postman anymore. And those kinds of things. Language should evolve to be gender neutral. And I think this is a very good example of that. Men are the default in language. Ballistic says, one thing I've noticed is how many girls wear full intricate makeup to the gym. Aren't y'all going to sweat? I used to wear makeup to the gym, and I used to wear makeup to go run outside by myself. Why? It's conditioning. Men are real and women are just an idea in a man's head, right? Women are secondary class. Every discussion about female athletes and their pay value was always full of misogyny. Very true. So let's see about this discussion. I love this photo, by the way. Sophia Smith of the United States celebrating at the World Cup in July and in the new US WNT uniform. Looks great on her. She's got a great athletic body and no white shorts, blue shorts. I guess the idea with white shorts is that if you have your period, you're going to be spending some time and energy worrying about whether you're going to have an accident onto your white shorts. If you have blue shorts, it's much less noticeable should that happen. Probably even black shorts or maroon shorts would be better. I guess, it has to be somewhat in your team colors. At least many people seem interested in the Women's Soccer World Cup this year. I thought that was cool. Definitely. It's definitely been like pretty hyped in the news and stuff. So this article, like I said, it's by Vanessa Friedman. She is a fashion writer. I've read a lot of her work in the New York Times. She's been a chief fashion correspondent for them for many years. I think she's quite a good writer. It's just that normally her articles wouldn't normally align with the kind of discussions we have. Although sometimes there's some, there's obviously intersections between feminism and fashion and all those kinds of things. Scuba Steve says, could be wrong, but I think there is no rule in FIFA that says women's can't play men's football, so a lot of men's leagues are actually unisex, but obviously only going to be male due to bio differences. Yeah, I don't think that soccer is something where women could be competitive against men. Men are just so, in soccer, they're pretty large. I mean, it's not a contact sport, but sometimes contact happens. And yeah, for various reasons, they're faster, whatever. It's why women have separate sports. We are in the quarterfinals of that global sporting phenomenon known as the Women's World Cup. I'm sorry, the World Cup. There have been, as usual, shocks and surprises. There have been less usual record-breaking crowds. So that's really cool. Record-breaking crowds. Hey, why not? My dad and my brother always watched women's college basketball and didn't really care about the men's college basketball. And I think my brother would say that the reason why it's different, right? It's different, but it's more interesting in some ways. Like women generally can't dunk, so they have to do other stuff. The play is different, but it's not really lesser. It's just different. And you might find that actually even more interesting than men's sports. I don't know. What there hasn't been, at least compared to any other World Cup, is a lot of white shorts. No white shorts as part of the England team uniform. No white shorts for New Zealand. No white shorts for Canada, France, or Nigeria. All countries that wore white 4 years ago. No white shorts as part of the home kit for the US for the first time since the World Cup began in 1991. It's period justice. It's period justice, said Dr. Akila Carter-Francique, the Dean of the School of Education, Health, and Human Services at Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina, and the former president of the North American Society for the Sociology of Sport. That sounds like an interesting organization. The Society for the Sociology of Sport. Studying why do we play sports? Why do sports evolve with the rules that they do? Who plays sports? That definitely seems like something that's really interesting. And it is the latest example of a trend that is sweeping women's elite sports as athletes increasingly rebel against received uniform conventions handed down over decades. So the change is, so there is a trend that's sweeping women's elite sports, and it's because the athletes are rebelling. They're complaining. They're saying, I don't want to wear that. And who is it who's creating the rules of what they should wear and the uniform requirements? Is it men? Is it advertisers in the sports? It's, putting pressure on the leagues and stuff like that. Like they're getting these uniform requirements for someone and they're saying, you know what? I don't want to wear that. That's not what I'm going to perform optimally in for whatever reason. At Wimbledon earlier this summer, Elena Rybakina of Kazakhstan and Shelby Rogers of the US were among the first competitors to wear dark shorts under their tennis whites, as the All England club finally relaxed its all whites rule in recognition of female menstrual reality. Y'all, black shorts. You can't go wrong. Honestly, if you have an accident on black shorts, there's no risk of embarrassment, really. White shorts, gonna be pretty obvious to everybody. At the Euro Hockey Championship later this month, shorts will be an option for every participant, as well as the traditional skirts. And the decision about what to wear will be left up to each individual player. And some track and field competitors have swapped their bikini-like buns for shorts and leggings in competition. So here are some pictures from there are great pictures in this article too. Really illustrate all of the points very well. From left, Kenza Dali of France, Ella Toon of England, and Azizat Oshaola of Nigeria are all members of teams that ditched white shorts during the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. World Cup. Enlightened Female says, I think the double layer shorts could be practical, but white and light color shorts in general make no sense. True. Creepy. Existential says the white shorts requirement reminds me of certain men's obsession with white. I can't even say that word. It's just so cringe to me. Panties. This is the next best thing. There is actually a very illustrative photo later in this article that's gonna prove that point, or anyways. So 4 years ago, all of these teams were putting their gals in white shorts, and now they are in colored shorts. Now, I don't know if any of y'all remember this from the 2021 Olympics in Tokyo. Pauline Schaefer-Betz of Germany competing in a unitard rather than the traditional leotard. And that was seen as kind of revolutionary, a unitard. Now, if you're judging gymnastics, you should be able to see all the movement and the woman's body in this type of outfit, as opposed to a very high cut leotard, which shows off, the woman's legs and butt and everything. Obviously, it's quite form-fitting still, and you can even see all her muscle definition through her tights. So there's no, why shouldn't they wear something like that? It seems like it should absolutely be totally acceptable. And it does provide a little more modesty. And from a fashion standpoint, it's more opportunity for design. You can see the legs have some design on there. 15th Jessica says, I like the unitard better than leotard. I do too. It actually just has a very nice, striking visual look to it. What a position too. That is wild. Her neck. Zam. Tori says, I recommend everyone read Femininity by Susan Brown Miller. It has a lot to do with this topic, and she does a whole chapter on clothing. So eye-opening. Maybe that's something that we could read a little bit of that together at some point. Enlightened Female says, I think the unitard is more practical because it helps judges judge more fairly and not based on skin appearance or muscle tone. Although, like I said, you can, clearly see her muscle tone through her leotard. '15th Jessica says, yes, striking visual. Plus the part that covers the butt cheeks and or crotch area seems to be getting smaller these days. I've heard a lot of people say that. Yeah. Yeah, it allows you to be covered up. I swim. I'm a swimmer, and when I go to the pool, I am very conscious of what's covered up and what's not covered up. Swimsuits are pretty high cut these days, and I tend to walk into the pool with my bag, and I usually have my bag covering, like, my crotch because I just don't should anyone be looking in that direction? Like, they don't really need to see that. How could it not make someone self-conscious? All right. Elena Rybakina at Wimbledon in black shorts under her regulation white tennis dress, which seems very practical. Why not? Shelby Rogers also wearing black shorts at Wimbledon, where past rules dictated only white on white. Which it's like, it's all these rules are very arbitrary, right? There's not any real need for any of these rules to be specific. So if it's the rules are arbitrary anyways, why not make it something that women are going to be more comfortable? Existential says, I know they're problematic, but I seriously want one of those old time women's swimsuits. And in what way? First of all, what do you mean by old time women's swimsuits? Like that go down to your knees or whatever? Do you mean like 1920s or do you mean like 1990s Baywatch? What's like old time? Also, in what way problematic? I'm curious. Okay, let's continue. This all follows the furor of 2021 when the Norwegian handball team was fined by its governing body for wearing shorts over the mandated bikinis. I actually have a video about that somewhere in my 2021. I talked about that during Vlogust. Some of my best videos I made during that period. But yeah, I remember talking about that because at the same time, what was it? There were, oh gosh, I can't even remember. Just go watch the video. The German Olympic gymnastics team competed in full body unitards rather than tiny leotards, and the pole vaulter Holly Bradshaw wore a onesie rather than a crop top and bikini to win her bronze, which itself came after the hoo-has generated by, well, pretty much everything Serena Williams ever wore on the tennis court, including a unitard at the French Open and a tutu at Flushing Meadows. In the wake of Title IX and the fight for equal access to sports, after the ongoing battle for pay equity and competition, comes the war for uniform equity. It's not just about clothes, it's about choice. So giving women the choice. Not all women are going to choose the unitard over the leotard for one reason or another. Not all women are going to choose to cover up. I personally think we actually talked about this a little bit in the stream with Radical the other night, that it should be about what you can perform optimally in. And for some women, that's going to be a smaller amount of clothing. And for some women, that's going to be more clothing, for various reasons. At a time when controlling women's bodies is at the forefront of political and cultural debate, as issues of dress codes become more and more contentious in schools, companies, and seats of government, the sports world may actually be at the heart of the resistance. It's not a moment, said Tess Howard, a member of the English national field hockey team since 2018, and a driving force behind the changing uniform regulations in that sport, including swapping out the team's low-cut form-fitting compression tops for looser running vests. It's a movement. It's not a moment, it's a movement. Shrink it and pink it. For pretty much as long as women have been in sports, society has been conflicted about women in sports, raising issues that reflect entrenched prejudices about femininity, sexuality, power, gender, and stereotype. For pretty much as long as women have been in sports, society has been conflicted about women in sports. So it's always going to be a conversation whether even our presence in sports is a viable thing or a valuable thing or whatever. Women using their bodies for their own pleasure and recreation. Oh, that is so powerful. Lauren Fleshman, by the way, who this quote is from, she's a proponent of males participating in women's sports. She's someone I used to follow running quite a bit. She's a long distance runner. She's a middle distance runner. And I always looked up to her. I thought she was really cool. And yeah, she came out a year or two ago, the long diatribe about why boys should be allowed to compete on girls' teams. And these women who, were professional athletes 10 years ago when all this stuff was not an issue with the gender stuff or whatever, it's like they're like, well, I got mine. Now the next generation of girls, they can put up with this stuff. But like, it's just insane to me. Megan Rapinoe is another one who argues on behalf. There are a few of these women who are professional athletes or former professional athletes who are arguing for the presence of male people. I know that we've had a little conversation in the chat. I've been looking, y'all discussing that, why we should have separate categories. It's all virtue signaling. I agree. Women using their body, but this is a powerful quote, right? Women using their bodies for their own pleasure and recreation. Women using their bodies in a powerful way should not be revolutionary in 2023. And I mean, this is like really gets at the heart of a lot of the things that we talk about. What is women's objectification ultimately? It means that when we lose our humanity and we become objects and we don't belong to ourselves anymore, and our own desires and needs come secondary to other people's wants about how to use us. And that comes up in every discussion of feminism or feminist topics. So like the abortion thing, it's like, well, what you want doesn't matter. What you are going to do is you're going to be a vessel to produce men for society. So your own needs and desires come secondary to the way in which we as society will use you. So it is very powerful for a woman to reject that and say, I'm actually going to use, I don't care what you want me to use my body for. I'm going to use my body for my own pleasure and recreation. That's coming first. That's going to be the highest thing on my priority list over what you want me to do with my body. And so participation in sports, and I say frequently that fitness should be at the top of feminist praxis, and really do believe that, because it reinforces this idea of our humanity. An enlightened female said this reads as two different meanings, both what you took from it and choice feminism. I think it reads as choice feminism to me because of her TRA beliefs. Can you elaborate on why you think what you hear in that's choice feminism? Because I'm going to gently disagree with you on that. I don't see the choice feminism in that. Yeah, it's also disappointing. There are a lot of these women who get a lot of feminist ideas and they still have this TRA stuff lurking there, which is like very disappointing. Okay, so anyways, said Lauren Fleshman, the United States national champion distance runner and author of the recent memoir, Good for a Girl. I wonder if it's Interesting. It was got a great title, Good for a Girl. And especially, that's so it's so disappointing when these people push for men or when these women push for men in women's sports because they know. I mean, imagine giving your book the title Good for a Girl. So she has some realization of the gender dynamics. And yet still to argue on behalf of men participating in women's sports. Crazy. But it is. Okay, so it shouldn't, using your body for pleasure and recreation shouldn't be revolutionary, but it is. And there are a few examples of women glorifying in the power of their bodies as viscerally clear as sports. That is what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. It is such a powerful and really rebellious action to put your physical health, your fitness, your athletic ability, to make that a big priority in your life. Something I definitely I've been promoting, I want to keep promoting. And I've gotten a lot of feedback in the comments and stuff from women who are like, oh yeah, here's my workout and whatever. And I love to hear that because patriarchy wants you to be weak and it doesn't want you to prioritize yourself and see yourself as human. And those are ways that you can prioritize and reaffirm your humanity is through fitness. And, men do this all the time, right? Like, kind of, it's like a primary way in which men uplift themselves is through fitness. And women don't have that in the same way that men do. In fact, what's the common thing when men are like, I'm depressed, whatever. What do they tell each other? Go to the gym. But women don't tell each other that. Women don't tell each other to go to the gym. But we should. Uniforms in women's sports have effectively evolved in two ways. On one hand, they were simply downsized versions of men's styles, as in basketball and soccer. So this is the shrink it and pink it thing. So you take the men's version and you just make a smaller version of it, even though women's body shapes are quite different than men's. Nike did not start making women-specific World Cup kits until 2019 and did not, even though the World Cup started in 1991, they didn't start making women-specific designed uniforms until 2019. Does that like boggle your mind? And did not re-engineer the WNBA jerseys until 2021. On the other hand, they were designed to be expressly feminine, like tennis dresses, field hockey skirts, and the highly sexualized abbreviated bathing suit like bras and bikinis for volleyball players. So there's like two ways that they've historically done women's uniforms. One, to just take the men's uniform and make a smaller version of it, like they've done for basketball and soccer. The other is to just forget the men's version and make this super sexualized and small and revealing clothing for women. Enlightened female following up before. I think the reason why it comes off as choice feminism to me is because the use of pleasure in a text about women's sports uniforms. I know the quote was about bodily autonomy. It just feels off. Okay, I hear you. I think we are not encouraged to prioritize our pleasure, though, right? So it can be a pretty revolutionary action to say, I'm going to prioritize my pleasure over producing pleasure for other people. That is really what we're told is our job, is to please others and to make others pleased and not to please ourselves. So, and fitness and sports can be a huge source of pleasure for women. It can also be problematic and it can be a source of stress and eating disorders and stuff like that, but it can be really, really enjoyable. So, and it's really just for you, right? You don't do it for anyone else but you. And we are taught to kind of always consider other people in everything that we do. Everything that we do as women should be because someone else is going to benefit from it, not where we're solely benefiting ourselves. So these pictures are just wild to me. Chris Evert at the US Open in 1971, when lace, ribbons, and frilly underwear were part of expected women's attire. That is like mind blowing that that was what they wore. Lace briefs under their lace tennis dress. Could anything be less comfortable to exercise and sweat in than lace? It's itchy. You know, I guess there's an aesthetic quality to it. I think it's kind of ugly personally. I don't really like the way lace looks. I guess I appreciate the artistry in someone who makes it by hand or something like that, but to me it's an ugly look and it's got to be so damn uncomfortable. So ridiculous. Um Insane. Really cool that athletes are pushing back against this stuff. Direct action, I agree. This is really like we talk about feminist activism and stuff. And they don't have to do it in a way and saying, "Oh, this is feminism." They're just saying, "I don't want to wear this." The American beach volleyball team at the Olympics in 2021 in the sports regulation tiny bikinis. Imagine the men wore a Speedo to play. They wear shorts and a tank top. The men wear shorts and a tank top. Why do they wear that? It's wild. It's totally wild. Tess Howard of the English national field hockey team in white, playing in the traditional skort, a garment that will no longer be required, and that she said she will trade shorts for the Euro hockey tournament. So skorts, I don't have like a huge problem with skorts, but again, it should be, you know, whether they want to wear it or not. Shorts, skorts, freedom of movement. Maybe it's annoying. I've never played field hockey at all, let alone in a skort. Incidentally, there seems to be like a lot of water on this field. Is that like normal? Or had it maybe rained or something? That's not like sweat, I guess, right? It's water. But skort, anybody here play field hockey? I think in women's lacrosse, do they wear skirts too? I can't remember. Those uniforms look so unpractical. I can't imagine those feel comfortable. Either way, so whether it was shrink it or pink it, they were essentially tailored for men, either literally, meaning they didn't fit female bodies correctly, or for the male gaze. See why I said that I thought we were going to enjoy reading this Vanessa Friedman. What's that? Male gaze? I thought male gaze was a myth because I've heard that from feminists, right? Isn't the male gaze a myth? Is the male gaze real or is the male gaze a myth? Because when I've talked about the male gaze, I've gotten a lot of pushback. Oh, the male gaze, that's not a real thing. According to Vanessa Friedman of the New York Times, the male gaze is real. This just in. So men's clothes do not fit women's bodies well. Never really comfortable to wear men's clothes or clothes designed for the male gaze. This became particularly obvious after the advent of Title IX in 1972. By the 1984 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles, the first time a women's marathon was included in the Games, the US had the chance to show off the best female athletes in the world in the most marketable way, Ms. Fleshman said, which meant combating fears that allowing women to participate in sports equally would make them too masculine. The feminization of the uniform was a way to soften that, sorry. So when they introduce women as participants or competitors in the Olympics, there was a fear that it's going to make women seem too masculine, and we cannot have that. So we have to do something to kind of dumb it down, feminize it, so that it's less threatening or something. To me, that's feminization, is like, make it less threatening. Also, it provided, as she pointed out in her book, entertainment consolation for audiences watching inferior performances. Yikes. Like I said, women's sports is different, but I don't think you're still watching people. Let's call women people. You're still watching people compete at their limit and be competitive amongst themselves. No, they're not competitive with men. No, they're not maybe doing the same level as men, but seeing a woman, women have a lot more to contend with. In ways, it's kind of more impressive, right? Women don't have the testosterone to build muscle and recover the way that men do. And our bodies are just so different. Our bodies are designed around carrying a child. So we have more body fat. We have larger pelvises, all of these things. It doesn't make a woman's athletic feats any less impressive. I would argue it makes it more impressive to be able to overcome all those physical things, not to mention the social aspect of it. This is not a world women are naturally welcomed into. So historically, and probably even to this day, women have to fight to be a part of sports. And, I don't think it's about watching inferior performances, although, yeah, I can see her argument, but, and of course it's inferior performances in quotes, right? So it's not like she actually believes that. I'm just making the argument that women's performances are not inferior, if anything, the opposite. Tori says women playing sports must force them to dress in impractical clothing or else they might be mistaken for men. Speaking of fashion, expired milk is fashionably late. It was a response, Ms. Howard said, to the idea that we had to be identifiably a woman, and that the way to be identifiably a woman is through a gendered uniform. After all, part of winning is being photographed while winning. I have talked about this kind of recently. Okay, we talked about this a few weeks ago when I did the Barbie stream, and we read the article about Gretchen Whitmer. And I was saying something like, this idea of actually wanting to assert your femaleness while you're doing something that you have been as women, we've been historically excluded from. So in spaces where we've been historically excluded from, and this is just like an idea that I'm like working on. I don't have anything concrete, so I welcome any conversation on this. And I was saying, that article was very much about Gretchen Whitmer. She's the governor of Michigan, and she's very girly, and she wears hot pink a lot, various shades of pink, but she wears, this assertive hot pink. And it's to say, hey, look, I'm a woman in politics, a place that women have historically been excluded from, and still to this day are a minority of politicians are women. And I want to assert that I am a female doing this job and in this space. And I've kind of thought about that. It's like, well, wearing pink is, a way to assert your femaleness in this space that's historically male, and to not shy away from that. Pink itself is not, and personally, in my opinion, it's okay if your opinion differs on this, but I think the color pink is a color, right? So I don't think pink is necessarily performing femininity, right? Wearing pink is not performing femininity of something that I'm critical of. But it is a way to, pink is culturally coded with femaleness. So it is a way to assert your femaleness should you want to do that. And hopefully that makes sense at all to somebody. We were talking about expired milk, whether lacrosse, whether they wear skirts or not. In college, we women's lacrosse team challenged the school to let us wear shorts instead of skirts and succeeded. So there you go. That is actually feminist activism. I don't think of it that way, but it's, look, hey, I want the choice. At least give me the choice. Maybe give me the choice. Maybe I still want to wear a skirt. Give me the choice. Maybe I want to wear shorts. Maybe some girls want to wear skirts. Some girls want to wear shorts, whatever. I get that there's an element of choice feminism when I say it that way, but having having the option when you legitimately have the option, because a lot of choice feminism is like, oh, give me the choice. I'm going to choose the thing that it aligns with patriarchy anyways. So Enlightened Female says, I agree that pink is just a color. It's the performative femininity that's tacked onto it that's problematic. I want to see, and I should have pulled it up before the stream. I'll see if I can find it. Last year I was thinking, okay, next year I want to do a triathlon, and the season kind of came and went, and I was not able to get in shape because I've been dealing with a bunch of injuries and stuff. I used to do triathlon many years ago, and I have a desire to get back into it. And so last year I was like looking at, race outfits or whatever. And I came across this company, and I want to see if I can find it again, because their whole thing. And I was like, I almost thought at the time, this is like, there's a video in this, because their whole thing was like, we want to be, fierce and powerful women, but also girly at the same time. And I'm like, I kind of like get it, but like, why? You know what I mean? And I do appreciate that some women like maybe prefer the aesthetic, but it's not like that preference for the aesthetic happens in a vacuum. Like like if you prefer the girly aesthetic, you prefer pink or whatever. Like why? You know what I mean? Like maybe you do, and maybe it's not problematic, but you haven't been raised in a vacuum. And, if you were on a desert island by yourself, would you prefer that aesthetic? Like maybe you still would. I don't know. Like I have a pink aesthetic, and I have stuffed animals and pink pillows in the background and stuff. And that's like I don't like hate that aesthetic. Like I like that aesthetic. So I don't know, but like, I didn't develop that aesthetic in a vacuum, and I have no idea. Who has answers says, I think maintaining the girliness is likely a way to signal to men. I think, not existing in a vacuum, it may be very hard or impossible to ever, for some women to ever get away from this stuff. Being mindful of it is definitely the first step. Existential says, why is the aesthetic so important when you're sweating, bleeding with your mind on the game? And also, good point, pink was a boy's color in the early 20th century. And for like hundreds of years, I think that girls wore blue and boys wore pink, and then it got flipped somehow. Nick says women use the same equipment men do in soccer. Do they use the same size soccer balls? Or are you saying like the uniforms, despite it all being designed for and by men? So as Lisa says, extra effort and resilience on the women's part just for that. Yeah, definitely. Great point. Existential says, when I was pushing myself to my physical limits in the military, looking feminine was the last thing on my mind because there wasn't room in my mind for anything but the struggle. Thank you for sharing that. Blorbo says women are definitely complicit, perpetuate it, I'd say, as with most aspects of patriarchy. But like, how, let's put it this way. How mad at them are we for doing that? Like definitely it's not good. But how much do we blame them for it? Because they have been conditioned to this is a lifetime of conditioning and brainwashing, and potentially, if you're very black-pilled, that it's even a genetic thing. So, like, it's not good, and I don't like it, but how much can we actually, like, blame a woman for it? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I agree. This is how I would say, I ain't mad at women about it. We're all brainwashed to hell. So we're many of us are kind of doing our best. Like I said, the first thing to do is be aware of it, because a lot of women are not even aware of it. They are not even aware. They're not aware that they're brainwashed. Like I can be like, yeah, I prefer girly stuff in some ways. Like, I prefer girly aesthetic in some things, in some ways. I know that I don't know that I would if I was like raised on a desert island in a community of women. You know what I mean? I don't know. 15th, Jessica says, I played basketball as a kid and the girls' league used smaller balls than the boys. Yeah, so did we, playing basketball and soccer as well. My brother couldn't shoot with proper form with a boys' ball. Interesting. Oh, I mean, I love it. Existential. I'm going to sound like a total hard ass, but in my opinion, if you're super worried about your aesthetic during professional level sports, maybe you need more training to focus on what really matters. I mean, the hard ass takes are totally welcome here, of course. It's why, let's see. I like jumping back into this and I don't remember like what this is referring to, but okay, let's just move on. It's why Sepp Blatter, that very funny name, Sepp Blatter, then the president of FIFA, suggested in 2004 that women's soccer players should, oh God, I hate even reading this, should wear tighter shorts, and why there was a brief moment in 2011 when the AIBA, the boxing association suggests that female boxers compete in skirts. I love also, this is what I'm talking about, this writing. I love the ellipsis there. The Professional Boxing Associated suggested that female boxers compete in skirts. Though both of those ideas were rejected fairly quickly, it is still true, Ms. Fleshman wrote, that uniform guidelines mandating exposed skin and form-fitting silhouettes for only one gender have been coded into rule books across many sports. In others, they have been internalized as symbols of professionalism by the women themselves. If you grow up watching champions in buns or underwear, or we used to call them briefs, you think champions wear buns. If you watch winners in dresses, you think winners wear dresses. Yeah, that's definitely true. It's called the athletic feminine identity paradox, Ms. Howard said. And it exists, Ms. Fleshman said, until someone asks to change it, until someone says effectively, wait, why are we doing it this way? So there's this desire to appear feminine that gets coded into the rule books that some women perpetuate and other women just go along with it. Adrian says skirts are awesome. Women and men should wear them in boxing. Well, and that's bringing up a good point, right? It's the difference. It's this idea of like, well, men don't do it. Why are women expected to do this thing men aren't expected to do? Why are women expected to show skin and that men aren't expected to show? Why are women expected to wear makeup and get their nails done and men aren't expected to do those things? Because they are dehumanizing, and men are allowed to retain their humanity and women aren't. Because a woman having humanity is actually pretty threatening to the structure of the whole thing. This culture is so interesting to me. So in the military, some girls resisted going without their feminine accoutrement, but by the end, it was so physically grueling, they stopped caring. It was a liberating vibe in the barracks, to be honest. That's wild. Honestly, I'm a fan of skirts for all. Freedom of movement with coverage of spandex underneath. Heck yeah. Okay, so I go to yoga at a studio, and there's a gal there, and I would say she's like early 20s or so, and she wears a skirt over tights. And at first, like, I couldn't figure out, why is she wearing a skirt over tights? And then I realized, oh, it's for modesty because she doesn't want anyone to see her butt. And I've never seen that before. And I think maybe she may be like Jewish or something, because that's very common. Orthodox Jewish women, even doing any kind of exercise, they would wear long tights with skirt over it. But yeah, I mean, a skirt actually, it can have a modesty element to it too, right? Because you're not seeing like the form-fitting shorts. There's obviously different kinds of shorts. There's like shorts with more material, and then there's like booty shorts, Baggy drawstring shorts over leggings could work. I remember when I was like in middle school, high school, we used to wear shorts over leggings. No one would just wear leggings by themselves. You'd always like wear some shorts over it. So, it's all like trends and stuff. Long dresses, skirts over gym pants or long dresses, shirts over gym pants was very common among my Muslim schoolmates. Yeah, like a tunic style thing, for sure. Wait, why are we doing it this way? Great heading. Wait, why are athletes wearing white shorts and wondering if spectators can tell they are menstruating instead of focusing on doing their job? So again, this is like, is it getting in the way of you doing the sport? If you're spending even a minute thinking, am I bleeding onto my shorts? That's energy, effort that could be going towards your performance. Wait, why do field hockey players practice in shorts and compete in skirts, and for that matter, wear low-cut compression tops that show off their cleavage every time they bend over? Wait, why do men run in shorts and play volleyball in shorts, and women do it in tiny bottoms that make them worry about cellulite and bulges and showing their stomachs? Wait, why are the armholes of basketball jerseys so enormous that they act like windows to the sports bra? Wait, why is the default garment the smallest garment as opposed to the most neutral garment. Clothes are, to a certain extent, a form of encoded messaging between head and body. Put simply, they make you feel a certain way about yourself, and that influences how you act and perform. Or so found Hajo Adam, an organizational psychologist at the University of Bath in England, and Adam D. Galinsky in their 2012 paper, Enclothed Cognition, which looked at the effect white lab coats have on the wearers. Essentially, people in lab coats behaved more like doctors and paid more attention because they dressed like doctors, which made them feel more like doctors. So this is interesting. I almost feel like there's a little this it's getting a little into some like the arguments that liberal feminists make, which is like, I wear this because it makes me feel a certain way, but there is actually research that shows that that's true, that what you're wearing does have an impact on how you act and how you think and how you feel. So we don't like that truth, that the clothes that you wear make you feel a certain way. But, you know, should women get confidence from wearing sexualized clothes or something like that? Will they perform better athletically in sexualized clothes? The same is true for athletes. Just as clothes, the most intimate of tools, can make you perform better, they can have the opposite effect. Okay. Ms. Howard began studying the relationship between sports uniforms and the rates of girls dropping out of sports as part of her undergraduate dissertation at Durham University, and earlier this year published her findings in a report entitled Practical, Professional, or Patriarchal. Love that title. Which included the startling data point that 70% of girls who dropped out of sports dropped out because of uniform and body image concerns. She called it her aha moment. So these degrading outfits, or what women perceive as degrading outfits, or maybe they're objectively degrading outfits, are actually causing girls to quit sports. And I wonder, how many adult women avoid going to the gym or doing anything because they perceive that in order to fit in at the gym, they have to wear, tight leggings or a sports bra or whatever. Are we, we're dropping out of this very important part of life, which is physical activity, whether it's competitive or not, because we're afraid of our bodies and because we feel pressure to make our bodies look a certain way. And we don't like that. And so it's just easier to drop out. I've talked about this. I have a video about this, but when I got into radical feminism for like a couple years, the first couple years that I was into it, I became completely sedentary. I didn't want to exercise or move my body or put on tights or anything because I was afraid I'm going to judge myself. Not only are other people going to judge me in the gym or whatever, but I don't want to start seeing myself in a sexualized way because I felt this feeling of total liberation of like, I don't even have to think about my body. I don't look in a mirror ever. But you have to exercise for physical health. You really have to any extent that you're able. Some of us have different abilities and stuff like that, but to the extent that you're physically able, you have to exercise for your physical health. And it's not, we can't just say, okay, I'm going to opt out because this is objectifying, because women's fitness is very objectifying in its current form. And I started exercising again last year, and I talked about this in the video that I made. And I think for the most part, I have felt pretty liberated, but like I haven't fallen back into body images too hard, but not zero. I'm more self-conscious of my body and body image, more dysmorphic and stuff like that. since I've been exercising. And it's like, I wish there was a way where you could just do it in a liberated way, because I don't feel as liberated as I did when I wasn't exercising, but my health is much better. Like my physical health is much better. Mentally, I'm less liberated. I want to find the way, you know. I don't know of any other women talking about this or exploring this or like trying to fight through this. I'm trying to do it. Hopefully, like, could be a role model for other people, but I haven't like unlocked it myself, you know? Blorbo says so many women probably get scared away from fitness by the voyeuristic aspect of it all. Like you can exercise in your bedroom by yourself. Like you can actually get a good workout. But it's that the man inside our head, you know, you can't free yourself of that even if you're by yourself in your bedroom. It's still there. And that I struggle with that too. I've been posting fitness videos recently, and I do find, like I'm analyzing how I look and my weight and all that kind of stuff, my muscle tone. And I would really like to be able to like post fitness stuff and not be in that trap. Existential says I have a stationary bike in my condo. That's great. Blorbo says I do weightlifting. It makes me more image conscious, but I feel like at least it's in a gym, flexing in the mirror kind of way. Oh, it's in a gym, bro, flexing in the mirror kind of way. Yeah, I feel like that could be part of a liberated mindset. I mean, yeah, that's part of it. It's like, sometimes I am hard on myself and I'm like, oh, this could be better. This could be better. In fact, yesterday I sent my sister like videos of 2 crazy fit women on YouTube. And I was like, I'll never look like this. But then sometimes I'm like, I feel good. Like, I'm like, I think I look good, but it shouldn't even be about that. That's the thing. Like, I don't want to be, that is a trap. I don't want to be trapped in that. It's also just a bad road to be walking down. So hiking is great. I agree. I'm trying to gain weight. I think I have been gaining a little weight. I really want to gain muscle. It's a big diet component to that too, but it's still fitting an aesthetic, but it's at least an aesthetic that's more aligned with health rather than being, super, super thin or something. And also for me, I want to perform better. Like I want to be able to run longer. I haven't been able to run in 2 weeks because my hamstring's messed up, but I want to be able to just run longer and faster. I want to be able to climb harder. I want to be able to do more push-ups and stuff like that. So I do think if you focus your fitness goals more on those kinds of things, like performance oriented, then that's much better than focusing your fitness goals on something that's physique oriented, because some of it's outside of your control also. Like, and I want to make a video about body positivity and healthy at every size and stuff like that, because I do think, our physique is so genetic dependent that if you like comparing yourself to other people, especially, it's just the total kiss of death for having any like good self-esteem. Because, if I compare myself to some other woman, well, like she might not have the health issues that I have. She might have different levels of, vitamins or whatever that allows her to train more and stuff. It's like, that's just toxic. So the aesthetic of brute force and I could smash your head. Existential says, my self-consciousness isn't tied to my fitness, but my size. I'm losing weight and men have started smiling at me at the grocery store, whereas before I was invisible, which felt safe. Yes. Expired says, because of a teenage ACL injury, my fitness is always paranoid about my legs. So if my legs start to look skinny, unstable, I'm just like, time to get moving. That's very, very interesting. Very interesting. It's presented as a girls' issue, Ms. Howard said, but it's actually a systemic issue. So girls are at the end of this receiving end. You know, they're dropping out because the system says, hey, if you want to advance in the sport, you got to take your clothes off. Speaking of toxicity, here's runners. One's got booty shorts on and the rest are in briefs. Women competing in crop tops and underwear at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics held in 2021. I mean, they all look amazing though. Is that like problematic to say that? I guess that, you know, is that the counter argument that it's like, well, they look so good though. Why? Well, to me, I'm like, man, why wouldn't you want to show that off? Problematic. But I also get it. It's like you feel very exposed. You're in a stadium full of thousands of people and you're exposed. Those are your body parts. Maybe you don't want to show that off. Maybe you want to not be so exposed. A comfort for sure. Expired says, I looked good in my volleyball uniform, but I was still uncomfortable even if I was kicking butt. Yeah, so maybe maybe they're getting a wedgie or something, you know. Useless says, I have an insane problem with chafing. They look amazing, but at the same time, I feel pain. So that's definitely an issue. Canceled. I mean, for me, a lot of this topics that come up under this, it's stuff I'm working out in my own head, and I don't think it's about giving the perfect, you know, radical feminist analysis of any of this stuff. It's especially when you're in it, you know. Buff women are cool AF, and men don't like them because they're insecure. I mean, to me, these women just look like so insanely powerful. So, optionality. Allison Felix favors shorts and a tank top for competition rather than a bra and bikini. Dina Asher Smith says she likes running in a leotard because it covers her stomach. Indeed, in 2020, after allegations of gender discrimination, including one lawsuit that is ongoing, and athletes like track and field star Allison Felix leaving to start brands specifically tailored to women, Nike set up a female-specific athletes think tank to better hone their offering. In addition, now about 70% of the participants in the Nike Sport Research Lab, which studies how product innovation intersects with performance, are women. That's pretty significant. More than half, said Tanya Vizdak, Nike's Global Women's Sports Marketing Vice President. There's a much more concerted effort to focus on the female body, to lean into what she needs versus him. Good, it should be that way. Dina Asher Smith, Olympic sprinter, was part of the first Nike think tank. She said she never really thought to question the practice of running in tiny bikini bottoms and a crop top until she was offered a leotard-like garment, which leaves the legs free, much like buns do, but covers the torso. I did not realize how much I did not like having my stomach on show until I had a functional and valid option to change it, Ms. Asher Smith said. For some women, empowerment is wearing a crop top and knickers, and that's absolutely okay. But I wasn't one of those girls. And when I was running around in the leotard prototypes testing and was confident that I wasn't going to fall out of it, I was like, yeah, let's go. Get this on. One day, Ms. Howard said, we'll look back and laugh about what we used to wear. So having the choice having the choice is important. Enlightened Female says, I've always felt the need to cover my body because I never wanted to be seen as appealing to men. I've known about my lesbianism since a young age, and men seeing me that way makes me uncomfortable. Ballistic says, I never liked tight clothes, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm autistic or a tomboy or both. There's definitely like a sensory element too, right? I'm not autistic, but I do feel like, you know, certain textures of clothing and stuff, I'm pretty like sensitive to that. And I prefer to run in short shorts and a sports bra. That's what I'm most comfortable in. Part of it is if I wear even a tank top or something, I don't like the feeling of the fabric. And also I get hot so easily. Like even when it's like down to pretty cold, like I just prefer to the temperature that's associated with wearing shorts and a sports bra. I just don't like wearing extra clothes. But that's me. Like I'm saying, it really should be like this choice idea is very important. And also, you know, what are you wearing? You want to think about it the least, putting the least amount of energy into what you're wearing, you know? You don't want to be thinking about it one way or the other. It's too much, it's too little, it's you're feeling some fabric thing, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, Enlightened Female agrees, same. I'm not neurodivergent, but I've always had a problem with certain textures and tightness. Over years of thrifting, I found that smaller clothing has the worst fabrics. That's interesting. Yeah, I definitely have like specific fits of things, and I have things that I wear that are like it just feels right. Like it fits really good. Fit is also super important. Swimsuits, you know, like the way they make swimsuits now, like my whole ass hangs out of my swimsuit. And that's just like that's what they make. Like you cannot get like a full coverage swimsuit for like, you know, racing style swimsuits or whatever. And I would prefer it if you could. So, yeah, comfort, how much you're thinking about it. Pros choice. Sport is a microcosm of our larger society, Dr. Carter Franzek said. And the experience women are having in these spaces as it pertains to their bodies is about the tension between how they are represented as opposed to what they do. It is about the complications in moving from object to subject. So, again, I knew we were going to love this article. And once again, it's this idea of changing our status from objects to humans, from the acted upon to the actor, moving away from objectification and into, you know, being the person in control. It is probably not a coincidence that the revolution in professional women's sports kit has reached critical mass in the same period that women's rights are under threat in countries across the globe. So, you know, and every time we talk about fashion or makeup or those kinds of things, it's like inevitably someone is like, this is not the most important thing to be talking about right now. But here it is. It's a microcosm of our larger society. And it's about women moving from object to subject. And women's rights are being removed in much of the world, and they're at least under threat. In the US, we have lost many rights in like the last 10 years. It's been over a short period of time, and we've lost rights in a way that's going to be very hard to get them back. So these were rights that took a long time to gain, and they were established for a while, and they're gone now, and it's going to be a real uphill battle to get them back. Now, here's a representation of women in some cases just asking for what they want. Oh, they never even asked before. Now they asked, they got it. Okay, they asked to whoever was in the governing body or in power, they got it. Or they fought for it. One of those things. And it is a microcosm of, hey, look, these women were able to ask for or fight for this thing that they wanted, the choice to do, and they got it. And so maybe they can be a representation of how we can do that in other ways and spaces. The pole vaulter Holly Bradshaw swapped buns for shorts in the 2021 Olympics. Hey, Joan of Arc. We were hyping you up the other night on Radical's stream. 3 members of the New York Liberty in different length shorts tailored for personal preference. So there's that preference again. Again, to me, it shouldn't be like, oh, I want to like look hot or something. It should be like, this is what I move best in, and this is allows me to think the least about clothing and the most about sports when I'm doing my sport. So maybe for some women that's longer shorts, maybe for some women that's shorter shorts. I don't think there's anything wrong with choosing what you move best in and what you feel most comfortable in physically. The fight to wear what they want is really a fight about the right to decide for oneself what it takes to succeed. And again, if anyone thinks this is sounding like liberal feminism or choice feminism, feel free to pipe up. I'm definitely like willing to entertain that conversation. I don't see it in this specific instance. I think choice is actually important in this case. That when you really do have the choice, right? So, you know, like we talk about with makeup, that women say, it's my choice, it's my choice. It's like, well, is there a different option? Is there another option? Is there another viable, valid option? If there's not, then you don't have a choice. So in this case, if you have 2 choices, one to wear shorter shorts or one to wear longer shorts, then you have 2 legitimate choices. It's not like, I think the problem with choice in feminism is that sometimes there really isn't a choice. If there really is a legitimate choice and you make it, fine. If you're being coerced to do something, then you don't actually have a choice. Hopefully that makes sense. Joan of Arc says, I got a swimsuit that's like a coverage of a vest. I think you mean like a t-shirt, and cycling shorts. I love it. Very comfortable. I think Puma brand, if you're in the market for one, Sports Direct sells them. Yeah, I like the idea. I like the idea of a swimsuit that has like sleeves. I don't hate that idea. Again, well, we talked about this a little earlier, but like sometimes women, they don't even know that they would prefer that until they're given that option, because they never had that option before. Like the woman who was like, oh, I don't have to wear briefs and a sports bra. I could wear actually a leotard, and I prefer having my stomach covered up. I didn't even know that was an option. I didn't even have, I didn't even know that I didn't know I would prefer that because I never even had the chance to try that. That's what Sabrina Ionescu, a guard for the New York Liberty of the WNBA, realized when the team's uniform was expanded to include shorts in different lengths, below the knee, at the knee, above the knee, and jerseys with different necklines. Having such options, she said, is extremely important, and it allows you to be who you want to be. So this is exactly what I was just talking about. Like, you don't even know what you want because you've only ever been given one option. So there you go. And, they all have slightly different body types, right? So maybe one style or length or whatever, it's also just not going to fit your body type, right? Because some of us have more square shaped body types, some of us more hourglass shaped body types, or pear shape or whatever. And that's going to impact on how something fits you. Fit has a lot to do with comfort, and comfort has a lot to do with how well you'll be able to perform, And it is why the move away from white shorts in in the World Cup, which could seem so minor, is actually so meaningful. It's what Risa Isard, Nicole Melton, and Charles Macaulay of the University of Massachusetts call an act of everyday resistance. Simply by taking the field over and over again in front of millions of eyes in green and red and blue and black, these teams normalize the concept of bodily autonomy and, yes, choice through sheer repetition. And when their fans dress up in their jerseys and shorts to pay them homage, they may internalize the same messages. These are women sort of drawing a line in the sand in areas where they have more control, said Nikki Neuberger, the chief brand officer of Lululemon, which in March 2022 introduced a women's running shoe built on a last made from 1 million female foot scans rather than a modified male shoe. They are saying, Ms. Neuberger continued, we're here, we're equal, we have a voice, we have needs that have to be met. And in this space, there is actually not a great argument for why that shouldn't be true. Okay, so I think this was a fantastic article. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Vanessa Friedman, for writing this great article. Enlightened Female says, I think uniform variation is a great idea as long as uniforms look similar and uniform. Supports most body types and preferences. First thing that comes to mind is like when women, they have their bridesmaids or whatever, and they all have like a different dress to fit that person's body in the same color scheme or something like that. You know, I don't know. That's not like the most greatest example, but you know, that idea that it's like uniform, but it allows for a person, you know, the fact that we have different body shapes and body types, and the fact that we have different preferences too. Like we have different preferences, we have different things that make us feel most comfortable. Existential says, I pretty much don't do uncomfortable femininity. Like I own a floral print jumpsuit, but it's super comfy, no fuss. I have skirts, but they're also comfy. Mostly wear t-shirts, sweatpants. Me too. I don't have any dresses or skirts. I don't like my thighs to touch. Like I like there to be fabric in between my thighs when I'm just sitting around or sleeping or anything like that. Like it's like a sensory thing or something. Like it creeps me out to have my skin of my thighs touch each other. No, obviously, like I work out in shorts and stuff. Often I work out in tights too, though. Anyways, but yeah, that's one reason I don't like dresses and skirts. Is again, this like just goes back to everybody feels differently in different outfits. Uh-oh, New York Times having technical difficulties. Let's give it one more shot. Nope. Okay. Technical difficulties. Yes. Hard agree on leggings under skirts. It's impossible to find comfortable bras that fit right. I hate shopping for many reasons, but it's very hard to find anything that fits right. I find it very hard to find anything that fits right. I mean, which kind of makes sense because our bodies all are so different, even if we're approximately the same size. Like shape just varies so much. Like how are you gonna? It's almost like a unicorn when you get something that actually fits good and feels really good on, and it's like a good texture fabric and everything. Enlightened Female said, I used femininity as a shield to feel normal when I was chronically ill and sad about it. Now that I'm better, I really don't care or put a lot of effort into my appearance. Very, very interesting. I want to try to find this. I'm gonna go back to here for right now. Hello. I want to see if I can find this this company because it was really interesting. Let me see if I can. Yes, I found it. Okay. but they had like their philosophy. Okay. Hmm. I want to like get y'all's opinion on this. Let's share this tab instead. And we'll go back. Oh, this is so interesting. I love sports bras, but nowadays so many of them are designed to be worn as crop tops instead of bra. My short torso disagrees. So I have a very long torso and I actually prefer that uh, you know, crop top style or bralette or whatever. Speaking of. Joan of Arc says, I dress in a fun, frivolous way, loud, patterned smock dresses, layers of bright shirts, etc. But it's comfort and practicality above all. I agree. And some of us don't like bright colors. Some of us do. Okay, so let me share this and see what we think of this. This is let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. It's readable. There we go. So this is a company that designs triathlon racing outfits for women. And I came across this last year. That scrolling thing's really annoying. Sorry about that. Oh, there we go. Good. Because I was like thinking, I'm going to do a triathlon. I need to get some gear. And I came across this and I was like, what do we have to say about this? I want to read this to you and y'all can tell me what your thoughts are on this, because I don't even know how I feel about it. And again, keeping in mind that idea of like, we're in this space that's mostly a male space. Like triathlon it's pretty, I think it's actually pretty mixed at this point, historically kind of male dominated sport, as all sports are. And we want to assert our femaleness. And I don't like have a problem with that. Just as we were earlier talking about being a woman politician and wearing a hot pink pantsuit it is asserting your femaleness and saying like, hey, look, I'm here, And I know when we've talked about it in the past, some of y'all have said things like, well, you're asserting your femaleness just by existing as a female in that space. And I totally agree with that. And maybe some women feel like they want to feel this extra layer of asserting that. So this says, it's the company is called Betty Designs. We thrive on sweat and live for fashion. We believe powerful prints and colorful tones play best in harmony with one another. Again, nothing wrong with prints and colors. Our drive to be better than our best keeps us moving. Okay, I like that. Keeps us moving and pushing and chasing. We didn't love the boundaries that held back endurance apparel, so we moved the limits, united by our passion for sport and belief in ourselves. We wear what we want. Okay, so that's a little choice. I don't want to veer too far into choice when we don't actually have a choice, but if we have a choice, when we want, how we want, we dare to declare that strong is sexy. Why does it have to be sexy? Why does it have to be sexy? Why is sexy a part of this? And badass is beautiful. Again, what if sexy and beautiful? Like, this to me is like, a woman cures cancer. Well, was she hot? It kind of like has that vibe, right? It's still reinforcing the idea that our value is in our sexiness and in our beauty. So why can't we just be strong is strong and badass is badass? And those things are good enough on their own. It's still coming back to that idea that sexy and beautiful are the things that give us value as women. So this is like why I have a problem with this, I guess. Betty Designs is the manifestation of every single thing that sparks our fire, and it's for every body. So like there's some as with many things we discuss here, there's some good things in there, and I always try to hype up the good things. And there's some things that are problematic, and they may not even recognize that it's problematic because they haven't done the work. Blorbo says, "I'll take strong and not sexy, please." It's disheartening. Julie says it's disheartening to know that it's still considered women's job to be attractive to men. So, yeah, I just here is, I guess, the founder of this company. She's like clearly into fashion and such. Got a little fashion vision board there. And, but I mean, she looks like a pretty incredible athlete too, not gonna lie. Like, and they're clothes that are designed specifically for women. I happen to find that logo aesthetic pretty ugly. I mean, there's no doubt she looks amazing. A seriously proud mother, wife, designer, and athlete, Kristen splits her time between San Diego and Park City. Like, actually kind of jealous. That sounds, besides this, bleh. This sounds good though. Keeping fit and inspiring women of all ages to continue to challenge themselves. Like, this is good. These are good things. These are good things. Not one for sitting still, blah, blah, blah. Ski, surf, gym. I mean, I like, there's parts of this that I love. That's the thing that why, like, I feel so conflicted about it. Boy mom. I don't know. I like feel conflicted about it. Let's look at some of the actual outfits. Like, new. I hate shopping. I hate looking at anything. I don't like looking at like clothing websites. I really don't. It's like, I don't know. This is like super zoomed in, maybe. Here we go. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing like too crazy. I'm not like a huge fan of that logo. Anyways. I don't think we even have control over what others perceive as sexy, can we? Is sexy external? Great question. No, don't say that. I live in eternal fear of meeting a man who sexualizes frumpy tomboys. Well, that's the thing. Men sexualize everything. And we've talked about that recently. Is a man finding you sexually attractive a form of power? Men find corpses sexually attractive. Men find children sexually attractive. And men find inanimate objects sexually attractive. Do any of those things have actual power? No, they do not. I saw on the Twitter some argument, or people were discussing how men are saying that a woman's 18th birthday is the time in which she hits the wall. So a woman's 18th birthday is when she hits the wall. No longer sexually attractive, no longer, viable sexual partner when she turns 18. In other words, the only time in which she's, viable as a sexual partner is when she's a child by the law. That's really messed up. And there are a lot of men who, were echoing this in, not in any kind of ironic way or joking or anything, like legitimately, seriously. It's sickening. I agree. Lydia says it's sickening. I really think that idea of the wall is just it's such a, like, there's nothing to it at all. It's totally nothing to it. Okay, let's see. Let's go over here. We got a little more time. Do we want a little bonus? Little bonus share here? I think I can share this without, not going to share my username. Okay, good. I don't really care if people know my Reddit username, but like if they don't have to, you know. All right, let's share this tab and we'll go back to this view. This is actually, I know it says female antinatalism at the top. This is an r/legal advice. So let me try to zoom in again. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. Came across this today. This is pretty good. Oh, this is, thank you for articulating this because I didn't really know how to articulate this, but this is perfect. It's a totally a neg. Men as a collective online are invested, and this is like beautifully said, invested in lowering women's self-esteem to ensure more sexual access to more men. They want women to prove themselves using their bodies. Gold star for Existential Gamer. Beautifully said. Thank you for that. Thank you. Collectively lowering our self-esteem so that when a man does show interest in you, you're like, wait a second, I hit the wall 22 years ago, and now a man's sexually interested in me. But meanwhile, men are also sexually interested in corpses, children, and inanimate objects. But yes, I should feel so complimented. I'll definitely sleep with you. That's the vibe. Anyways, r/legal advice. Tinder hookup says she's pregnant and is asking for abortion money. How should I proceed? I met a girl about a month ago through Tinder. Okay, so if this is right away, something is off. Because generally, if you have sex, I don't think a month later you would even know you're pregnant. And maybe you have missed your, let's see. Okay, so say you were ovulating. Say you were ovulating on July 1st. You had sex. 2 weeks later, you're expecting your period. You don't get it. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. Anyone a more of an expert on the female body than me? Does that timeline make sense? If you have sex with someone and then a month later you are aware you're pregnant and time to get an abortion? Okay. I met a girl about a month ago through Tinder. I, being incredibly stupid, had unprotected sex with her. Well, at least you acknowledge that you are incredibly stupid. That is clearly what that is. She told me the morning after she wasn't using protection. Weird way to describe birth control as protection. That's not what most people think of protection as, but okay. I got her a plan B. I haven't seen her since about 1 month and only now got a text saying she's pregnant and it's mine and that she plans on getting an abortion soon. She didn't ask for money directly, but she basically implied she wants money for this abortion. How should I proceed? I don't have a lot of money and the amount for this operation is basically my rent. I'm not even sure it's actually mine. If I was rolling in money, I'd probably pay up and leave this behind me. However, money is tight and I don't know if she's just hitting up everybody she's hooked up, etc. Gee, I think probably financially paying for an abortion is probably a smart move financially. If you can't afford an abortion, how would you expect to afford child support payments. Okay, so it from an investment standpoint, it's probably the best money you're ever going to spend. Okay. Oh, good point. Enlightened female says pregnancy is counted by the first day of your last period. True. Okay. So who has answers? Thinking ahead, because a lot of people in the comments said this. Maybe confirm she's pregnant anyway. Useless Strawberry says better than 18 years. Agreed. Okay. So what's an abortion cost? $1,000 or something? $2,000? Find it. Take out a loan. Put it on your credit card. TLDR, even though this is like one short paragraph. Okay, so the comments, y'all. You need to ask her for proof of pregnancy and tell her you will need a DNA test done before you hand over any money. This is a common scam. What? What? Okay, so in order to do this scam, you have to have sex with unprotected sex with a stranger and then hope that he'll give you money for an abortion. What the hell kind of scam is that? I cannot believe anyone would say this is a common scam. Who has answers? Says, I have heard of girls from the neighborhood doing this. Yes. I don't think you can prove DNA on a fetus at that stage, right? Because what is a fetus at that stage? It's literally the size of like a sesame seed or something, like at most. How on earth would they do a DNA test the like amniotic fluid or something? So you have to wait till the fetus is more. But it's also like, who cares? Like, honestly, who cares if it's yours at that stage? Literally give her the money. That's kind of my thing. I don't know that it's common, but it's not a thing. Enlightened female says $800. Yeah, right. If she doesn't have the money, that should, Planned Parenthood is a sliding scale. So you can get I don't think, money is really ever an option or a barrier to getting an abortion. Planned Parenthood absolutely has a sliding scale. And if you're in that range where, if you don't have $800, you're probably qualifying for Medicaid anyways. And I'm not sure. Actually, that's a good question. I don't know if abortion is covered by Medicaid. OP, please be aware that when you ask for proof, she will likely send you a picture of a positive pregnancy test that she found online. This is a very common scam. Again, I can't imagine this is a common scam because it requires having unprotected sex with a man, which is so risky. What are you risking? I like, it's a very hard for me to imagine there's weird women out there, right? But this is a way to get $800 from a man. But what do you risk? But don't you know if it's broken? Radical and I had a pretty spicy stream the other night, and it's up on her channel if you want to check it out. But we talked about how, I guess, we were on this radical feminist Twitter, but dubious at best. And this conversation happening about how nobody uses a condom, like how condoms are so disgusting. It's too early in the day to really get into this conversation. This is an after dark conversation. But it's actually shocking to me, and I said this the other night, that like I grew up in the era of AIDS, and my first awareness of sex in general was that it's strongly associated with death because of AIDS. So, I just is it maybe it's the next generation, that Gen Z, they didn't grow up with AIDS, so they don't have that appreciation or that feeling about it. Like, so maybe people are having more unprotected sex, but to me that's wild, because the chance of getting a disease, and in fact and close to a curable disease, or something that could kill you. Kai says if a guy is planning to hook up, condoms should be used regardless. A guy hooking up with a guy, or a hot guy hooking up with a girl. And it should, in my opinion, it should be the man's responsibility as well. It's hard to feel much of anything because they're so inexpensive, and it's always better to be safe than sorry. I totally agree. I totally agree. I think these people just have internet brain rot. Why would you risk it? Yeah, as a man, that's like, what? Why would you risk it as a man? You could literally have to be responsible for something for 18 years. I don't know. I'm not a man. I don't know like what percentage better it feels without a condom, but okay, it feels 20% better. But now you have a kid that you got to take care of for 18 years. Good job. I'm sure it was really worth it. Let's see. What are some other top level comments here? Much less likely to be a scam since you actually had sex with her. Will be very hard to pull that scam off if they didn't have sex, but there's much easier ways to make money for sex than this. True, but still good to be cautious. People saying this is a common scam. You really telling me that chicks are sleeping with guys they meet through Tinder in hopes that the guy might give them some money for an abortion down the road? This seems like the dumbest long con ever, and must pay so much less than just being an escort. Fact. True. HIV or herpes. Yeah, gross. Enlightened Female says she's a Gen Z and went to progressive school. We were taught to use and research different types of protection, but they didn't go into detail. Yeah, we didn't have any, whatever sex ed I had in school was like, I don't even remember it. The rare normal person on Reddit, right? What? There's so much goofy stuff on here. Okay. Pay it. It's probably a scam, but if you can afford an abortion, if you can't afford an abortion, you definitely can't afford to raise a child. Raising an unwanted kid with a random girl is hell for everyone involved. You are lucky she isn't trying to keep it. Agreed. Ooh, when I needed one, it didn't matter whose it was. I was paying for it to get it done. Between my credit card and friends, people were willing to help if I needed it, but luckily I didn't. At Planned Parenthood, it's not insanely expensive, so I agree with other answers. It's kind of you to offer, not mandatory. I think it should be. Paying does help avoid potential long-term payments. Should it be yours and she not proceed? So it seems like proceeding to pay Planned Parenthood and not her is a decent strategy to ensure it's not a scam. That's a good point. If it's a scam, just say, yeah, I'll come to you. I'll come with you to Planned Parenthood and I'll pay it. Pay it and move on. So there you go. Oh, tell her to send the receipt after it's done and you'll pay half. It takes two to tango. What do you think of that? Is that fair? Paying half? So that's that. Let's go back to here. And we have just a few minutes. So anyone can, your spiciest takes, I'm ready to hear them. At the end is when we do our spicy takes. The person with the spiciest take wins. So I'm ready to hear them. Hey, Hazel. Oh, great comment. Men are desperate to control women's bodies and be the gatekeepers of reproduction while simultaneously avoiding all responsibility for their actions. Fact. Kai says there's no wall, so that's spicy take from Kai. That I think is that spicy? That's like a chilled cucumber soup level of spicy. I don't think that is here in this space. That's not a super spicy take. Existential has already shared her spicy takes for the day. Jenny says, I wish we shamed men for their stupid decisions even half as much as we shame women. If he didn't want to be in the situation, he shouldn't have hooked up. I totally agree. Okay, Hazel's hot take. All men should have a vasectomy that can be reversed once a woman vouches for and marries them. Not always reversible. Okay, oh well. That is a spicy take. Vasectomy, what age would you do it? 10? Okay, Billy, it's time for your vasectomy. It's a requirement before you can enter 5th grade. All boys have to show proof of their vasectomy. Kai's good with the chilled cucumber soup. I just stuttered there. Enlightened females, all her takes are cold or lukewarm. Yeah, I think it was a real nice conversation today, and I really thank you all for being a part of it. So nice. Love to spend Fridays in this way. Oh, by the way, I apologized last week for the internet was awful. And I normally like go back and watch the streams a little bit, or I'll like skim through them and watch parts just to like, because I like to hear myself talk. That was unwatchable, and I really apologize. And it was such a good topic, and I also felt like I was very in the flow of talking. And I was like, yeah, finally. I've had so many streams where I was like stuttering, or like I felt like I'm like sitting there like, you know. And I finally had a stream where I was like, felt like I was really in the flow, and the internet was just awful. But hopefully it was better today. I didn't get. I get a little thing on StreamYard that tells you like your internet's terrible. Comrade Scars, spicy take. Another alternative is putting all men in gulags. That's spicy, you know. Okay, another spicy. Socialism is the only way to ethically prevent abortion because financial stability is what makes people want to have families. Okay. Existential, spicy for society, but not for this space. Men should have no say at the political level about abortion, reproductive rights, or women's bodies. Couldn't agree more. Another chef's kiss for existential gamer. Lydia's hot take. I don't think choice feminism is entirely bad. That is okay. That would be curry vindaloo. I'm giving that level of spice. We shouldn't throw out the baby with the bathwater with it. Very spicy. Women can take men out like library books. That's fun. Yeah, so I think Ginny says I support the death penalty for men. Spice level on that. I'm gonna rate that mild spicy ramen. That's actually, not, I'm gonna call that ramen. Maybe if you put a little sriracha in it or something. Because women don't really do crimes that merit the death penalty. So Ballistics hot take. All men should be made to wear that cramp simulation machine for 10, on 10 level of pain at least once in their lives. Okay. I like it. I'm gonna give that spicy tuna roll. Have women tried the cramp simulation machine and confirmed that that's what period cramps feel like? I'm assuming it does because I've done the stim, which is what it is. I'm pretty sure. Just it stimulates the muscles. So like if you've had physical therapy, you probably had like stim on your skeletal muscles. And if the stim is up too high, it is very uncomfortable. It's not like exactly pain, but it's like uncomfortable, which is exactly how I would describe period cramps. It's like a weird, out of control discomfort rather than a specific pain. Ramen, it's good, it's tasty. Okay. Okay, this is spicy take from Enlightened Female. I find a lot of aspects of radical feminism need to be absolute or else we will not make a change. A lot of aspects are gray, but we won't progress if we coddle and accept non-feminist actions. Okay, so that's kind of the opposite of Lydia's comment a little bit, right? Unpopular with Radblur and Radtwit, but not here. Spice level, I'm running out of spicy foods. I'm not like a huge eater of spicy foods. Let's say quesadilla with jalapenos. I'm more, in ways I'm hardline, and in ways I am a big old softie. So I want women to feel okay. I want women to feel that this place as is representative of radical feminism and other radical feminist spaces, they should feel welcome to like dip a toe in and not the second they say something like Lydia's take, I think that there are things that we can take away from liberal feminism or choice feminism and not throw the baby out with the bathwater. I actually really agree with that. And I think it's spicy for here, but I do agree with it. But yeah, I think, because I know when I first discovered all of this stuff, and it was through an internet community of women, and I was sort of dipping a toe in, no one screamed at me for not getting it 100% and not for being totally hard line and whatever. And they were welcoming, and they were like, you're figuring it out, keep figuring it out, keep doing the work. And without that, I like wouldn't be where I am now. And I have to remind myself of that at some times when, I'm really like, I haven't had a lot of women in my comments and stuff who are really arguing for, anything that's not radical. So I haven't had to test myself in that way, but yeah, I think we should try to make it a welcoming place that like, great comment once again. Unpacking a lifetime of female socialization doesn't happen overnight. I'm still working through it, and I expect to be working through it for a long time. And I think the whole point is just to raise consciousness amongst ourselves. And so we can look at these things and yeah. Thanks, Adrienne. Amen. Yeah, we don't have to agree. And I do try to cultivate that in the streams and stuff. Like, we don't have to agree 100%. I'm not going to jump down your throat if you don't agree with me 100%. I actually still want to hear what you have to say, even if we don't agree 100%. We are all imperfect, and we're doing the best, and we're learning. And even a lot of the stuff we read, like there was a little bit of, choice feminism in that article, or in this topic in general about fashion and stuff. Or I don't know if you call it fashion, whatever. But like, a lot of the articles we read, they're not radical feminist articles that we're reading for the most part. Sometimes we're reading articles written by men. Sometimes, we're reading news articles and whatever. It's not like we're always reading radical feminist theory. Once in a while we do, but you can still look at it through radical feminist lens, and you can still say, even looking at that website of that brand, the triathlon brand, or sort of like, there was good things to take away from that, and there's things we should discard from that. So that's important, to be able to look at ideas and be like, some of that works and we can adopt that, and some of that we need to challenge. Existential says, we can all tell who's just working on their stuff on the journey versus a bad faith actor who comments to argue. 1000%. Totally. And I appreciate this, enlightened female. You've definitely made your community a welcoming space for baby rad femmes and those in the depths of radical feminism. Like, I hope I have. Yes, thank you, Adrian. This is not a cult. Yeah, some people put the cult in cultivate community, if you know what I mean. We don't do that. We're quite welcoming here. Hannah says, I wasn't that political before, but even though I don't agree with everything a lot of rad femmes say, communities like this have motivated me to join local women's socialist organizations. That's great. Love that. I agree, but I also feel we should emphasize that feminism is not an identity. It's a set of beliefs. I totally agree with that too. There's nothing wrong with being just a feminist and not a radical. Facts. Yeah, that made me think of one final thing maybe I want to end on. What was I just thinking of? Well, as far as feminism goes, there's things that fit within the framework and there's things that don't. And it's not about perfection. It's not about doing any of this stuff perfectly, but it's about challenging us, challenging ourselves to expand the boundaries of our thinking and put some of this stuff into action. So, it's not about perfectionism, not as necessarily about being super hard line on stuff. But we can challenge ourselves to be more liberated. That's the whole point. To learn from each other and to be more liberated. Oh, this is a great comment too. Adrian says, makes me think of bell hooks and how she's talked about as it as feminism is the solution to patriarchal oppression rather than just a label of identity. Yeah, you have to, you can use it. That's the thing. You can use it. It's not just like, it's there for us to use to achieve liberation to the extent we can. So let's see, we're at about time. As far as what I have coming up, I don't have any plans for next week, except for the next week's stream. Mommunes is sitting on the back burner as a topic I want to discuss, but the last 2 weeks, like other things came up that I was like, yeah, it's a little more interesting. So Mommunes, I know that some of you were interested in talking about that. I do still want to make a video about why I don't date men. That's spicy. That's spice level. I want to make a video also about some bad online dating experiences I've had as a sort of like, don't be stupid like Lisa. And then I want to keep up with my fitness shorts. So that's what's on the schedule for me. And for right now, I'm going to go rest my voice because I'm always lose my voice after stream. So Fridays, the rest of the day, I just, mute. Bad online dating experiences. I got a couple, I just have a couple little doozies I wouldn't mind sharing. A lot to share, overshare. All right. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I also want to do some more yoga too, but I'm going deeper in my personal yoga practice. I haven't really had the energy to stream any yoga, but I'm thinking about maybe just make a video, not stream, but make a video and post it for anyone who wants to do yoga. I really want to I want to challenge everyone to some kind of workout challenge, even if it's one person does it. But that's an idea that I have because I love that kind of stuff. I feel like it would be good for me. So, okay. Bye.